me as always is my boy Trey.
Yes, sir. We are back with another edition of the West Coast Podcast. Appreciate you guys for tuning in wherever you be listening to it, whether that be on the West Coast or the East Coast. We greatly appreciate you. Haven't had a steady stream of people come through within the last few weeks, averaging about 4 to 5. And to those that watch it back on the replay, we appreciate you. If there's any topics that you'd like us to cover in these future podcasts, definitely let us know in the comment section below. So, what's been going on our side of the universe, you might ask? Well, not a whole lot. There's been some riots that have been going on. Probably not going to cover that. We don't really do political type stuff so far, but we got some riots that have been going on and all that fun stuff. But overall, just trying to survive the heat. The last couple days have been pretty mild. But on Monday it was sorry. It was hotter than Satan's balls outside on Monday. So it's definitely been pretty brutal. So so yeah, that's pretty much it for the intro. I'm looking forward to just jumping into things and getting it going. So my guy Shane, you told me before we started this podcast that you've been doing Hoop Fest, and obviously Hoop Fest has been a huge part of your life going back to, well, I guess you could kind of get into your history with Hoop Fest, how you started out Hoop Fest and your greatest memories from Hoop Fest. But before you get into that, how have you been preparing for this version of Hoop Fest, and do you think that the end is near when it comes to Hoop Fest?
Trey, and welcome everyone. Like Trey has the best intros. Also make sure you check out him and his brother's podcast, the Trey and Tree podcast. They have cool ass stuff they do. They've been interviewing some comedians, so go check out the TNT brothers. Pretty interesting. Go check them out. So let's go. Let's do this. Okay, so we did have. I know we're not political, so I'll just keep the facts. Just the facts. My area had a curfew due to the riots. I believe it was Wednesday. Not horrible, but we did have that. So Hoop Fest, I have basically played since I was, I believe, 10 years old, fifth grade. It was fifth grade. I played 1 year, and then I didn't play for a couple years, and then about 15, I joined my brother's team, and ever since I've been playing. So basically, I've played like 26 or 27 years, and well, minus COVID, so like 25. But you guys get the point. Favorite memories, there's been a lot, and I know as I get older, it's more, I'm hanging out with my people I don't see as much because, one lives out of state in Oregon, one works a lot and is with his wife and family, and then, I do see my brother obviously, but that has always been fun. Some of the memories in Hoop Fest being in the top two, going to the championship game, making the final four, and Trey, honestly, it's supposed to be 6 foot and under. I'm 6 foot perfectly. 1 year I got put basically in a casket. No lie, no joke. I had to walk to downtown Spokane, and they made me climb in basically like a wooden coffin like you'd see in the early 1800s. And it was so I think it was like 6'1" or 6'2" or whatever. They made me take my shoes off, and I had like a couple inches, and they're like, "You're 6 foot perfectly." Obviously, I knew that because of the doctor, but so we're in like 6 foot and under. We have like my brother who's 5'10" and a half, maybe 5'11", and then a couple buddies that are like 5'10", and then the other one's like 5'8". And people like to fudge a lot, Trey. It's supposed to be 6 foot and under the bracket we sign up for, competitive. And we run into lots of times three guys that are 6'1", 6'2", and lots of times the monitor doesn't want to deal with it and they just say to play. because they all are volunteers, and honestly, I wouldn't want to deal with it either. Let's see, but other than that, like we make some good runs, and like we hoop, man. We used to. That's all we did in my 20s, Trey. Is like all summer long, we'd go to I know Kellogg, Idaho, Hallville, Washington, Cheney, Washington, obviously Hoop Fest in Spokane, Medical Lake, Washington, or Medical Lake, yeah, Medical Lake, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So we would go and play in those, man, and it's honestly a little bit different now because we're getting older. I'm like my body has not recovered like it used to, man. Like after back surgery and all that, and people grow older, and like we were one of the few to keep doing it. Like now you see people that are either just roided out, Trey, like my age, or like people that are having more fun. Like, and obviously, like we're still trying to be competitive, but so far this year, I'm the only one out of the four who has been shooting hoops, playing hoops with my oldest, who's 19. My brother is in playing hockey a lot in like the summer league or whatever for hockey. But yeah, man, so that's basically what we've been doing. My favorite tournament of all time was Kellogg. I don't know, Trey, have I ever gotten into the Kellogg Championship or no?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that you have in the past. I definitely remember you talking about Kellogg, the championship. Don't know if I remember the specifics, so yeah, go ahead and tell the people about the Kellogg, not the Kellogg waffles. Is that what I'm thinking of, right? Kellogg, they make the waffles and
I,
stuff,
I,
but
I think
the
so, bro, but I'm
actual
not sure. Not sure, bro. It sounds good. If not, they can make Kellogg waffles,
yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Uh,
I'll have to look that up, but yeah, go ahead.
okay, my bad, Trey. I just never remember like if I told you off air or if I've done it in the podcast. So for the new people, like Kellogg was one of the most brutal, most ruthless tournaments for outdoor basketball you could ever deal with. Like, Trey, I'm sure you and your brother, Lewiston's small, right? Or is it big? I think it's small.
We're probably bigger than Kellogg.
How many people do you guys got?
Like 40,000.
Okay, I'm gonna look up Kellogg while I tell this story. So
Yeah.
you kind of you'll get the point. Like, so, um, we go down there, bro, and um, it is. Oh yeah, you guys are way bigger. Kellogg's only got 2,400 people, but they have like Trey. When I say this, they brought down hoopers. Like there's hoopers there, and then they had like you know people coming out of town like diehard hoopers. Well, the sheriff, the sheriff down there, he like he threatened to like tase me or whatever and bring me to jail, and I really didn't even do anything this time. Like, and he literally like for all those like small town movies where like the sheriff shady and like all that, he was like, "Y'all better not try that round here." That's exactly how he sounded. And then he spit his chew on the ground next to me. But no, man, it was like I said. So their whole town, it feels like, comes out. No lie, like it's like shut down. Like they have the swimming pool, they have food vendors, and like they do a pretty good job. Like if you just kind of put your head down and stay out of the way. But like our team is kind of it's super competitive and kind of mouthy and won't and in the sense of like we won't back down. Um, but anyway, so we went and faced like they had won like 3 years in a row, I believe, right? Just own that division. It was open, so any height could do it. But we're in the competitive part. And on day one, bro, they beat us like 20-6. You go to 20 on 3-on-3. So it was 20-6 or something, 20-6 or 27. Like my brother's arguing with one of our teammates the whole ride home. Like they're arguing back and forth, like it's embarrassing, yada yada. I'm like, oh man, whatever. Anyway, so the next day we go through the losers bracket. We beat all the people in the losers bracket. We go to the championship. We have to beat them twice. The people around our court, it was at least 100 deep. And I'm not exaggerating when I say it's about 100 deep. It was that bad. It felt obviously on a way minimal scale, but like it felt like, you're on the road on game 7 in the NBA finals. Well, they're harassing us, like the sheriff's telling us to be quiet even though like the crowd is like talking smack to us. And we end up winning game 1. I cut to the hoop, my brother passed it to me and I laid it in. Okay, so we go to game 2, right? And it was back and forth, back and forth the whole time. The crowd's like jeering us and all that, and I cut to the hoop. My brother hits me, and I do a floater of the guy. The guy knocks me to the ground, and it goes in. We win the championship. I get up, and most of the crowd has dispersed. Now, props to the people that remained. They'd be like, they literally were like, "We don't like you guys. We don't like out of towners, basically. But you guys are really good hoopers." But I mean, that was harder than any Hoop Fest tournament, Trey. But we did have a guy that was like really, really good with us to make my brother and I really, really good too. But no, Hoop Fest is always fun. And like, yeah, like we haven't played good lately, Trey, in the last couple years. No lie, like so I don't know how much longer I'm gonna have, but like I've definitely tried to get in good shape again, and like it's a few years after back surgery. I need more back surgery, but obviously I don't have insurance, and I'm not paying $200,000-300,000 like it would have cost me in the back in the few years ago if I didn't have insurance. But anyways, that's my story, Trey. Long, long
Long
rambling.
rambling.
That was my
That was
story.
my story. Yeah, no, it's definitely a good story. When you were telling the story, the first thing that stuck out to me was it kind of was giving me kind of Deliverance vibes when the sheriff came by and had that country accent, and you're just waiting for the banjo to start playing,
Right, bro?
and
That's what
then
it felt like.
and then the second the second part is like when the crowd was jeering you guys, and by the time they by the time you beat him, and the crowd was like, "Oh, we don't like you guys. We don't like your kind of hoopers." I'm kind of sensing a little bit of subtle racism in there, even though you guys were white, but you kind of could pick up what they're putting down with that. but but no, that's crazy. And the one thing too, when you were kind of talking about Hoop Fest earlier, is that you said you've had problems with the admins in the past. Now, granted, it's like you said, they're volunteers. I mean, they're putting this event on for free, essentially. They're the organizers, but seems like there might be some carryover with how Madden handles their tournaments, and then you go over to Hoop Fest. So, would you say that when it came to dealing with people from Hoop Fest, that they were fair overall, and maybe just that one time that you didn't like, or were they kind of also presenting the same problems that Madden has with like tournaments and all that?
Well, okay, so like to break it down into detail, like it costs us $200 to enter, right? So it's $50 a piece. If you want to play in the elite division, it's even more expensive with referees. But I mean, we're not good enough to play like what versus guys that played D1 college basketball, D2 college basketball. I mean, I did run against some GU players, Gonzaga University players, and hit some threes on him, and he was trying to guard me. But then the difference was he realized like, oh, Shane's good enough, so then he yacked it, and I got out of the way because he threw the ball down so hard through the hoop, bro. Yeah, I don't. So, anyways, um, no. So to break it down into detail, Trey, they have an office that's ran for Hoop Fest I believe it's all year long, and they take like donations and all that stuff, and then they ask the public, hey, we need volunteers. We'll give you, brand new Nikes, I believe, a T-shirt, and I don't know what else. But I knew for the longest time they would give like brand new Nikes, which is dope, right? But like one year we had a volunteer person watching us, and basically what they're supposed to do, you call your own fouls, Trey. But the problem is, like, honestly, it's a big ego thing for everyone. And our team would call the least amount of fouls, but like if the team starts to lose or it's close, they start calling a bunch of fouls. Then us or the team they're
Now that
playing. Go ahead.
now that definitely sounds like Madden players.
Yeah. So they're basically, bro, they're like, they start calling fouls and then the volunteer gets involved. Well, one year the volunteer didn't show up the next day because they're just like, I can't deal with it. But so there's thousands of volunteers on hundreds of courts, Trey. But, so I understand from a point, like, they're just supposed to watch it and then if it gets chippy, they call a court martial. A court martial comes down. I mean, we've had times where police have had to come to our courts and tell us to knock it off or the other team to knock it off. We've seen arrests. I've seen um, a dude get hit with a broken beer bottle, or the beer bottle broke on his head, excuse me. The fight smashed into McDonald's downtown. That it used to be in a building. I don't believe it's there anymore. We've had there's been a lot of crazy stuff. But basically the volunteers come down that watch the courts unless you pay for the higher entry fee where they have refs. They're just supposed to watch. But the problem is people call so many fouls, like there's so many people that cry over fouls. So yeah, we've had our share where like our volunteers we've had like they've kind of just been terrible, and then we've had volunteers that were fair, and then there's volunteers that thought the teams we played were a bunch of crybabies and were with us more. So it is similar to the Madden community where on I think I don't remember what it's on now. I'm having a brain fart. It's not Battlefy anymore, is it?
I was gonna say Battlefly, but I didn't even know that they switched it up to something different.
Yeah, bro, they switched it up, bro. I'm having a brain fart, but either way, it's the same thing. Like, some of the people that are volunteering don't know Madden rules. They're just there working and trying to volunteer for, the website. And then, like, sometimes, like, the one time, like, I got stuck, right? So you're supposed to play between a certain time. And I literally was stuck for, like, almost an hour with, admin who didn't know what he was doing. And then one time I I beat a dude, and this was at the start of the whole thing. I beat a dude, forgot to take a picture of it, didn't think about it, and then they reversed the game the next day and gave me a loss. So it is kind of like that, bro, because they're both trying to have people do stuff that volunteer, or even if the Battlefire or the other one pays them a little bit, I mean, they might not know the Madden rules. So yeah, it's similar to that, Trey.
Yeah, no, it's definitely unfortunate. Like, I mean, people are competitive and, Madden when there's money on the line and, Hoop Fest is Hoop Fest. I mean, people all the time, they play King of the Court and, pick up basketball. I mean, all that stuff is competitive. I mean, you go down to the local Y and, those dudes are definitely competitive, but at the same time, it's like, sore losers like that just makes it hard on everybody. But but also at the same time, you gotta kind of expect that those people are going to be there and plan accordingly. So I don't know, whatever that means. I mean, if it's, hey, we're gonna toss you a free Madden pack, if you take this course on Madden rules and what to do in this certain situation, or I mean, you could even pay me to do it, or I'm sure you could pay Shane. You could give Shane like a 2 free 90 overalls or something, and he could probably do a good job adminning. So I mean, it's nothing really that difficult. So so switching gears, Shane, we didn't get a chance to talk about this on the latest podcast. So Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is officially a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. It took a while to get it done. It was going to be Mason Rudolph, or I don't even know who their other quarterback is, but it's not good. Oh, Will Howard. It was either going to be Will Howard or Mason Rudolph. That was going to be the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and come to find out that the deal has been done. Aaron Rodgers signs a deal with the Steelers. So I want to get Shane's opinion on, do you think that Aaron Rodgers has some juice left in the tank to be with Mike Tomlin and the Steelers?
You know, I think that he's going to get injured again, or if it's not perfect, it's going to break apart. Like, I think that obviously he was one of the most talented QBs I've watched ever in my life. And I'm just like, I'm not a huge Aaron Rodgers fan, but I can respect the talent. I can respect how good he was, right? Like, that's only fair to say. That's like, as a non biased person, like, Aaron Rodgers, like, outside of football, he's kind of a little bit like odd to me, but like that's cool. I might be odd to like him or other people as well, but like nah, I mean, I just think that he's not going to stay on the field all year long. I just think age catches up. Like I'm going to use an example for myself. Yeah, I'm not in shape like them. But like boy oh boy, I've been training for like 3 4 months straight, and like I just don't have the gas tank playing basketball that I did when I was 25, 30. And like obviously, Aaron Rodgers is in a 1% league of NFL. Um, do I think he could still be a top 13 QB? Yeah. Do I believe that if things start falling apart, he won't have issues like he had with the Jets and all that stuff? Yeah, I just think that he like when you're really good at something, Trey, I think people overlook things, right? Like you can overlook like Michael Jordan, like his gambling habits. Like it wasn't social media wasn't around back then, but like, he'd pull an all-nighter gambling. Well, they didn't really care as much because, he's dropping 40, 45. They don't care when like Deion Sanders is breaking rules because he was so good. They only care if like you're not as good or you fell off. But I mean, I think that's what happened with Aaron Rodgers at the end with Green Bay and at the end with the Jets and like that. But do I think he could still be a top 13 QB? Yeah, I do. What about you, Trey?
Yeah, no, I definitely would second your opinion about Aaron Rodgers. I know he's won one Super Bowl, and but as far as like pure like Hail Mary throw, like the one of my favorite games of all time was I want to say it was 2014 when they were playing the Cardinals, and it was like a Hail Mary that went to overtime, or I don't remember what year, because Arizona ended up winning that game, but it was a playoff game and Arizona won in overtime. But I just remember seeing that, and I would probably say that if we're talking about in terms of like pure quarterback play, I understand that Patrick Mahomes has more Super Bowls and you know he probably better stats. I would have to look at the stats to compare the two, but I think they're neck and neck. I mean, I don't think there's too much of a difference between Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. Now, obviously, you'd probably have to get with Mahomes because he has better numbers and he's won Super Bowls and stuff. But would you take would you say that Aaron Rodgers is better than Peyton Manning and yeah, we'll start with, do you think that Aaron Rodgers is better than Peyton Manning in your opinion?
That's a good question because we're all talking about Hall of Fame quarterback. So if you're a pro Patrick Mahomes fan, if you're pro Peyton Manning, if you're pro Aaron Rodgers, we're really nitpicking, right? Because we're really nitpicking Hall of Fame QBs that are really dangerous and really good. Um, for me, if you're picking apart, Peyton Manning had terrible playoff numbers and he had a good team. Did he choke? It seems like it. If you broke apart like Aaron Rodgers, he never won more than one Super Bowl, but one Super Bowl is still pretty darn good. Like, you're breaking down like you're looking at it because, and Trey, you know this as a fan of the team. You're looking at Tom Brady in New England, who won six rings, right? And Brady won 7 overall. Is that correct? Am I right on that?
Yeah, you're correct. 6 with the Patriots, and then 1 with Tampa Bay that one year, the COVID year.
Okay, yeah. So thank you. Okay, so yes, so like that's what everybody's basing it off of, and it's like that's what they really did with people around the era for like Michael Jordan. Well, Jordan had 6 when like Akeem won, or like, I mean, you're really like trying to argue about the GOAT for the time. Like, and I know people are like, yeah, but like, I don't remember who, like not Bill Russell. I don't know who it is. I think Bill Russell has more than Michael Jordan. But like, okay, but like, are you taking Bill Russell or Michael Jordan? Like, Robert Horry has 5 rings, I believe, in the NBA. You're not taking him over Shaquille O'Neal, prime versus prime. You're not. So we're only strictly talking about Hall of Fame, like strictly like big time Hall of Fame players. Um, you break apart nitpick on Patrick Mahomes. His numbers in the Super Bowl, besides I believe one game, aren't good. They're not that good. So to me, it's like his team helped him win the Super Bowls just as much, which that's the argument on anything. Like Brady to me is the best QB ever, and like I didn't really care for Brady, so I think Trey, and like don't beat me up about the Brady comment, but I think that if Aaron Rodgers was playing for Andy Reid and had the same team that Patrick Mahomes has, he has 3, 4 rings. He might even have one more. I think Aaron Rodgers is better than Peyton Manning, and I think Aaron Rodgers is better than Patrick Mahomes. You the haters.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. And I mean, do you think that like when it came to Aaron Rodgers, because you always hear stuff about Peyton Manning that unlike Tom Brady, I mean, you have Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. I mean, those two egos, like when it's going good, it's going good, but when it's bad, it is pretty awful. But from what I understand is that when it came to guys like Peyton Manning, he was pretty much the coach. He was like the owner. Like he was essentially the one that dictated how practice is going to be ran and so forth. So, and obviously, I mean, if you know anything about Aaron Rodgers, he's definitely an outspoken guy. Maybe earlier in his career he was kind of like that, but I mean, and he also probably has a chip on his shoulder because he was taken late in the draft. Oh, and Alex Smith got picked before he did, and Alex Smith was actually pretty good. He ended up having a pretty decent career. I mean, he's no Aaron Rodgers or nothing, but so do you think? I'm trying to think. Do you know Shane offhand? Who the coaches were when Aaron Rodgers was with Green Bay? Like, was it just like general manager problems, or like what kind of caused the thing with Green Bay? Because I haven't really followed Green Bay like that to know why they didn't win more Super Bowls with him there.
Um, I think it was Mike McCarthy that he had an issue with, or I believe that got Mike McCarthy fired. I'm not entirely sure. I believe so. They ended. Yeah, I just fact checked. Yeah, they had a 13-year relationship with the Super Bowl, but ended on rocky terms. Tensions arose, leading to McCarthy getting fired. So yeah, so I mean, Rogers expressed frustration with Mike McCarthy. Then he had frustrations with the Jets. So we'll see how it goes. Like I said, and look, let's be honest. Most Hall of Fame players have diva mentalities. You could say it for what it is. You can argue it. It's very rare that a superstar doesn't have um, sort of like look at me, yada yada. So here, Trey, I got this for you. You ready for this? This is for you. Aaron Rodgers playoff stats: 45 touchdowns and 13 picks in 22 games in the playoffs. Patrick Mahomes, 46 touchdowns and 10 interceptions in 21 games. So I would be wrong in this. Well, I didn't say anything about Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. I said the Super Bowl. So they're almost as even as you can ask for, Trey. Who are you taking? And do you believe if Aaron Rodgers was under center for Andy Reid, his stats would even look better? Or do you think that he would cause trouble there too?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely taking Aaron Rodgers in this situation. Um, I've said my piece, and I mean, look, people can, listen back to this podcast and, say, oh, well, you're a Patriots fan, and that's why. I don't really mind the Chiefs at the end of the day. I don't really mind the whole Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift thing. But I look at it objectively, and of course I form my own opinion. The two good things I can say about Patrick Mahomes is that he has that trait in him to where no matter what the circumstance is, he will find a way to get it done more times than not. I've seen it happen, more than one time. And it's rare when you have a quarterback that has that trait to where he's able to pull a rabbit out of his hat and he'll go to bat for his team. So I think he has. I would say Mahomes does have that killer instinct that a lot does. And I've also always given Patrick Mahomes credit that, whether it be the Swifties or whether it be his, dad that's always seems to be in trouble, or if it's his younger brother that, you know, has caused some trouble. But you hardly ever see Patrick Mahomes in the news for being a distraction. He seems like a guy that's dedicated on football, and like it seems like everyone else around him is like trying to make a name off his association, off of being associated with Patrick Mahomes. But I would say Aaron Rodgers, all that aside, I think Aaron Rodgers I would take over Patrick Mahomes because I do think that a lot of success is tethered to Andy Reid. Andy Reid is responsible for getting Michael Vick a multi-million-dollar contract straight out of prison. I don't think any other coach in NFL history would have been able to do that. So I would definitely take Patrick Mahomes, or excuse me, I would take Aaron Rodgers over Patrick Mahomes. And what about you, Shane, in that situation?
You know, like we've already said, we're nitpicking Hall of Fame quarterbacks, right? I I think Aaron Rodgers is one of the best QBs talent wise I've ever seen. Um, and I don't really like I said, I don't really care for the dude either way. I mean, he's not my cup of tea, but like I I think like I said, like talent wise, I would take him over Tom Brady, but obviously you can't because he's winning. So Tom Brady's won way more, so I'd be wrong on it. But then you could argue, well, would he have won as many if he didn't have Bill Belichick as coach? Then you'd have to step in, Trey, right? Because you're a huge New England guy, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, and Tom Brady went to the Bucks and won it. To me personally, Aaron Rodgers is one of the best QBs I've seen from a talent standpoint in my life.
Yeah, no problem. I've always been, well, I was gonna say I was always a pro Belichick guy. I mean, his antics as of late has kind of caused me to take a step back from defending him. But if you're one of those people that thinks it was all Tom Brady and Bill Belichick has nothing to do with it, you need to go look up the 2003 playoffs when Peyton Manning himself and a bunch of other quarterbacks complained to the NFL because they felt that Bill Belichick's corners were playing too aggressive on Peyton Manning. So they implemented a rule that changed the way that quarterbacks can be physical at the line of scrimmage. The first Super Bowl against the Rams, they were playing the greatest show on turf. I mean, you had Ty Law. There was some talent, but when you compare the talent on defense to the greatest show on turf, it was not close, and they pretty much held the greatest show on turf for the entire 60 minutes of the game. Not to mention the boy genius, the offensive mastermind Sean McVay, Bill Belichick completely shut him down. They couldn't get a score against him because they were running man coverage all year long, and they went to that Super Bowl and completely switched it up to zone coverage, and then the whole legal man downfield that you see it being implemented into the game today, where an offensive lineman will report as eligible. Do you know where that originated, Shane? That was Bill Belichick that first implemented that thing. He implemented it into the 2014 playoffs against the Ravens. I mean, John Harbaugh is on record for being furious, and he was trying to tell the refs that these were illegal tactics, which they weren't illegal tactics. They were just loopholes that Bill Belichick found a way to exploit, and that's why he's good at. So that's all. And I know everyone that's gonna say, "Oh, well, look at Tom Brady, look at Bill Belichick's record after Tom Brady left," and it's like that. That's true. There's a lot of stuff that Bill Belichick is at fault of that led to his demise, but if we're just looking at the full picture there, it wasn't all Tom Brady. The first Super Bowl against the Rams, he didn't do much. All he had to do was not turn the ball over. That was defense and special teams that won I would probably argue the first three Super Bowls, and then every Super Bowl after that I would probably give to Brady, to be honest, other than the Rams won the last time. But I did want to go back to Aaron Rodgers, and I think you and I, Shane, I think we're both on the same page when it comes to Mike Tomlin. I think you and I are both big Mike Tomlin guys, but at some point, like at what point is like barely going over 500 and getting knocked out the first round of the playoffs? What is that going to get you fired? Do you think that it comes a point to where this has been an ongoing thing for like, I don't know, 10 years at this point, and do you think at some point, if Mike Tomlin doesn't get over the hump, that they should probably look to move on from him at some point?
You know, that's a very good question, Trey. Um, Obviously, I'm not a Pittsburgh Steeler fan. I don't know what their expected wins were each year. I don't know if he's above it or below it. And the reason why I talk about that is you got to be careful firing a coach that is so good just cuz, right? Just cuz you're firing that guy cuz it's been too long or they haven't done enough. I understand, like, if, like, let's say he's picked to go like 11-6 every year, right? And he's a Super Bowl favorite and he never does that and he loses in the first round, yada yada, right? Okay. And this is why I bring it up. We're going to switch to baseball. I was a huge Scott Service guy. Um I believe he was one of the best managers in Seattle Mariners history. Most people would pick Lou Piniella. Growing up as my childhood, Trey, Lou Piniella was my all-time favorite manager growing up. But then realizing that, you know, you break down WAR, you go through stats, all that, wins above replacement, and they actually have Lou Piniella for his Seattle Mariners tenure as overrated, which I would have never known in my life. I Until you have social media, right? And social media gives a lot of people a soapbox, like they're super smart, including me. I'm throwing myself, under the bus there too. Now, here's where I'm at, Trey, on that is Scott Service did more with less factually every year but last year, and he got fired. And I mean, you might have seen it. You probably saw pieces. People would argue with me. They'd call me names. They say any manager would do better than Scott Service with this core roster they have. So everybody loved the Dan Wilson hire. 1995 memories. Um, I like the guy myself, obviously. Well, right now the Mariners are sitting at 32 and 33, sub 500, with a better core roster than Service has had in the past. Service won, I believe, I had the stats and all that, but like something like 28 games more than he was expected in 4 or 5 seasons, right? Led him to the playoffs with a owner that won't spend money, a roster that was less talented than a lot of rosters out there. And yes, spending money doesn't always equal wins, Trey, but I think you understand where I'm getting at. So with Mike Tomlin going back to football, I don't know what their expectations were every year. Were they supposed to be a 500 team and he led them to 10 and 7? Well, then he's doing better than he should, right? And if he's doing better than he should most years because, they either don't spend the right amount of money here or there because it's a salary cap now compared to like baseball, or, you know, whatever it is, like, I mean, so to me, it's like you're playing with fire, and change is good at times, right? But playing with fire and just firing somebody just cuz is also a negative. Yes, change is good in life, but the grass is not always greener on the other side, Trey. So I would have to I'd have to research to see if Mike Tomlin's done more with less, like Scott Service for the Mariners, or if he is struggling. So that's where I'm at on that, Trey.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I've always been like, and I kind of hate when people say like if you have a team that's a borderline playoff team, whether that be 8 and 9 or if the division is kind of sucky and you might even get in with a losing record because the division is just so ass. Sorry for cussing, but and I always hated the notion that when it came to football that if you're not like one of the top teams in the playoffs that you just have no shot because unlike football or unlike basketball, hockey, any other sport except for March Madness. I mean, March Madness is probably the only other thing where it's like a true one and done. So I mean, who's to say that a team that's 9 and 8 that can get hot at the right time and make a run and win a Super Bowl. And it just makes me upset because I listen to a lot of Boston media and Boston, radios and in 2021 in 2022 we were kind of hovering around the 10 and 7, the 8 and 9 teams. And they always said that they always put that notion that well this isn't a playoff team, they shouldn't have the right to be in the playoffs, but I mean, if you're a Patriots fan, like what the hell were the Giants the 2 times they beat us? they were scrubs that essentially had a legendary run at both times that they frickin' played us. I mean, there's the Arizona Cardinals. They were probably the worst playoff teams to ever make it, and then they make it to the Super Bowl and were 4 plays away from winning the Bowl. So but on the flip side, there I think there does have to be a point to where if it's an ongoing thing because it's not something you want to constantly be doing. You don't want to constantly just be in the hunt, getting knocked out. I mean, if it's like one season, then yeah, that's good and everything. But I think at some point you do have to go through the 4 and 13 seasons, the 2-win seasons, the 5 seasons because if you go through those seasons, you get a high draft pick, and if you are able to stack talents through free agency in the draft, then that's how you're going to get the rebuild off the ground. So I think at some point you have to kind of bite the bullet and kind of go through the 4 and 13 seasons to kind of get to a place to where you can be a contender in the Super Bowl. So that's kind of my whole take on the Mike Tomlin thing. But I love the guy. Like, listen, Mike Tomlin's a stud. I love that guy to death. Like, everything from his, press conferences and his energy and everything. Like, I really like him. And I'm hoping that with Aaron Rodgers, they can, make a run for this thing. We play the Steelers week 3, I think. And I don't know if that's going to be a W or an L with Aaron Rodgers there. I know that when he was with the Jets, we split with him. He beat the brakes off of us in Thursday Night Football, but later down the road, we were able to get him in like week 7 or something. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. So going forward on the whole football thing. So Shane, have you been keeping tabs on the Seahawks? You know, we're kind of getting into the thick of things when we're talking about the hay is kind of in the barn. You know, this is kind of the time where you have OTAs and you have mini camp, and you're seeing like little things coming up about mini camp, and these are obviously unpadded practices. So like when it comes to true evaluations, you can't really say much until you get to the preseason. But when you look at training camp, and are there any like people that are on the bubble, or like people that are going to be potential surprise cuts maybe that could be cut when it comes to the Seahawks for this year, or is that something you don't really pay attention to?
Honestly, Trey, I really don't pay attention to that kind of stuff. Like I know like when the games are locked in, or like I read on stuff, but like this right now, the only thing that I've been reading on is Milroe. I think I'm saying his name, the QB from Alabama. He's been I guess he's been kind of killing it in training camp, and I saw like Darnold kind of struggled in the red zone, but like for me right now, what is it? It's it's mid June now. I'm not really worried about it because there's people that aren't as locked in if they've made it or whatnot. I'm not concerned right now at all, Trey. I am surprised. I might put money on it, but I am surprised that Vegas has the Seahawks low right now. So I think it was like 6 or 7 wins. I think on talent alone they should win 9 games. And going back to the whole Mike Tomlin thing, Trey, is you know sometimes I wonder, like a Pete Carroll or a Mike Tomlin or even a Bill Belichick, like maybe they make it. They're so good at coaching even sub-average players or a sub-average team that they can't get like top five, draft picks, because instead of like a normal coach maybe going 2-15 or 3-14 with the team, they go 8-9, 9-8, 10-7. You know what I mean? So I often wonder if like sometimes that hurts them or whatnot. But like I always feel like get in the dance, you have a chance.
Yeah, exactly. Get in the dance, and you have a chance to get some ass. You have a chance to get some ass after the dance. Oh man, they asked me where does this stuff come from. For me it just comes naturally because I'm just built like that. But no, I understand what you're saying with the Mike Tomlin. I think the only thing that I would say for that, and I think with Pete Carroll and Mike Tomlin, it's a little bit different because they had different people that were kind of overseeing the management side of things. But with Bill Belichick, he was the general manager, like he was the head coach and he was the GM. And for as much as I would praise Bill for, the one thing I would say about Bill is that I think he genuinely kind of gets off on the idea that he can go 8-9 with a not good team, and then have people say, "Oh, look at how good Bill is. He's able to win 8 games with these players." So I think that kind of plays a role into it as well. So yeah, Vegas has the Seahawks at 6 or 7, and you're saying, from what you're saying, Chan, is that you're kind of thinking it's a little bit higher than that. It's like kind of around the 8 or 9 range.
Just off talent alone, like so, like I said, if Coach Mike is a good coach, which I'm hoping he is, I think the Seahawks will win 10 at least.
All right, so you heard it here first. The Seattle Seahawks are going to be NFC West champions. So when you look at, I guess we can just do like a little bit of a brief preview of the NFC West as a whole. Um, when you look at the other teams in the division, the San Francisco 49ers, who just invested heavily into Brock Purdy, don't know what else they did offseason wise. And then you got the Cardinals, who they're kind of always going to be the Cardinals. And then you have the Rams, and the Rams have a pretty good future with Puka Nacua and Stafford. I still think Stafford is probably. I would say Stafford might actually be a top 10 quarterback in the league still. I don't know if that's a crazy take or not. And I've always been a huge, even though Jared Goff is in the different conference, but I've always been a big Jared Goff guy. I was even saying, like, last year I thought Jared Goff should have been in the running for MVP last season. So when you look at this NFC West, can you give like a short prediction for the Cardinals, Rams, and the 49ers?
Um, Here's where I'm at on this. So I think the Seahawks are going to win the NFC West. I think, excuse me. I think Arizona gets third. I think the 49ers end up in dead last. I think the Niners win 6 games, 6 or 7 games. I think Arizona is tied with them, depending 6 or 7, so they might flip flop. I think the Rams will win 9 games. I think the Seahawks will win 10 plus. I know I sound super biased right now, everyone, but I have the Seahawks winning the NFC West, and that's where I think. I think it'll be Seahawks, Rams, Cards, and then 49ers.
So how are you? Well, I guess This is gonna be a two-part question for you. Number one, like when you look at the whole DK Metcalf situation, is he a player that you kind of look at and say good riddance, or do you kind of do you kind of hope that he does well in Pittsburgh? And do you think he still has some gas left in the tank, especially with Aaron Rodgers now that's going to be throwing him the rock?
I'm going to be honest. I think it was dumb as hell to get rid of DK Metcalf. He actually, they broke down the film, this one guy, basically, so like JSN for the Seahawks, everybody's on like he's like the new like toy, right? He's like the brand new car. And they broke down the film, even with like DK Metcalf, like how they talk about his drops and stuff like that. He was constantly using double coverage or getting double coverage and would open up the underneath for JSN and Tyler Lockett and players to have one-on-one or sometimes be butt naked. So I honestly think that if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, I think DK is going to have big numbers, and I think a lot of Seahawk fans are going to have instant regret.
All right, so Shane's saying that the Seahawks made a mistake by getting rid of DK Metcalf, and so we'll see how that plays out. I'm definitely interested as a Patriots fan to see the fallout for the Stephon Diggs situation seems to be over now. I mean, it's been like a week and it's died down. No one's really talking about it, and from all from all I've been hearing is that it seems like his rehab is actually ahead of schedule so far. He seems to be on pace for even starting week one, maybe. So we'll see what happens with that. The other question I wanted to ask Shane is, you're an Eastern Washington guy, and I just wanted to know, have you heard of, because there's been an undrafted wide receiver that went to Eastern Washington that has been making some noise recently in like training, well, not training camp, but like OTAs and mini camp. But are you familiar with the wide receiver from Eastern Washington that goes by the name of Efton Chisholm?
Nah, man, no. I didn't pay attention because I think they sucked this year, right? I didn't really pay attention. I obviously the best wide receiver that I saw come out of EW was Cooper Cup.
Yeah, yeah. Do you remember seeing Kendrick Bourne when he was at Eastern Washington, or not familiar?
He's the guy with the Patriots, correct?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
or
he played. He was with the 49ers. He was undrafted, and then He was with the 49ers, then he was with the Patriots for like the last 4 seasons.
You know, I definitely heard of the name. Like I don't know. Sometimes times go like kind of just mesh together for me, and I understand when people are like, you get older, yada yada. Um, I believe he played at EW like 6 7 years ago or something like that. Because I do remember it. Like I do really remember that name. I don't know. Did he play? No, did he play with Cooper Cup too? Trey, do you remember?
I think they were teammates in Eastern Washington. I think they were, like, if I'm not mistaken. I think Cooper Cup and Kendrick Bourne were teammates at Eastern Washington. So we'll see what this Chisholm guy is. He's definitely making a lot of noise. And in the Josh McDaniels offense, the slot receiver is going to be the most important. So he'll probably, and this is kind of where I kind of give pause because we have another slot receiver by the name of Demario Douglas, and his nickname to Patriots fans is Pop. So his nickname is Pop Douglas for the Patriots fan. That's kind of what he's been going for. But he was a sixth-round pick coming out of Liberty a few years ago, and he's had some pretty good seasons. He's definitely had some buzz. At one point he was probably the one bright spot on our offense. So maybe Afton Chisholm has to beat out Pop in order to get on the team, or maybe they can bring him back on the practice squad. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. And then we have another guy that's from Idaho that was undrafted. His name is Lan Larison, and I think he played at, I want to say, UC Davis. He played in the Big Sky, so there's two undrafted guys that are coming out of the Big Sky Conference, FCS. And this guy's from Idaho, and the interesting thing about Lan Larison is he's a former bull wrestler, and now he's coming back with the Patriots. And with Josh McDaniels coming back as offensive coordinator, we might see the use of a fullback. So, maybe it'll be Lan Larison or Jaheim Bell's another one, the tight end we drafted last year. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on with that, how the preseason kind of pans out. Um, so Shane, what is there any news that has come forward about Madden that we didn't cover? I feel like Madden is like such a dead period at this point. I mean, you have the trailers and like the deep dives that we kind of got into. I know they did one with Madden, but I mean, it's really that whole stuff. And I made a video about this on my YouTube. If you want to check it out, the my YouTube is Trey is Raw, so you can just search that up if you want to see the video where I kind of just go on a rant basically. But is there anything new that you could think of that we haven't covered so far?
Nah, Trey. I haven't heard anything about Madden besides, the release date, but we went over that. We went over the college football release date. Hopefully, I don't even know when they're gonna break out the MCS like release, but we'll definitely drop in here. No, it's kind of dead right now, and then, college football comes out in, I believe, 3 weeks, and then people will start doing that, and then yeah, we'll be all in the brand new of the thick of things. Trey, is it cool if I get into the India plane crash or no? Or do you have more before we get into that?
Now you could go ahead. So Shane's going to talk about the India plane crash. Definitely a crazy situation that is going on with there. So I'm gonna let Shane cook like Russell Wilson in the back in the day. Let Russ cook. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna let Shane cook on that, and then from there we will get into the Would You Rather segment, which is, I know it's everybody's favorite. That I definitely did not forget about the Would You Rather segment. I was just messing around at that point. So yeah, I'm gonna let Shane cook on this.
I appreciate it, Trey. So no, basically, I believe it was a couple days ago, or maybe it was yesterday morning, but no, India plane crash. There's videos out there. There is some disturbing videos out there that, like, I mean, I stay away from. Trey told me off air he stays away from. I mean, you can imagine what things look like, right? I don't need to be shown what they look like. I understand. I understand the human body is not Superman. Okay, we're not superheroes. So there's some disturbing videos out there that for the weak of heart or weak stomach, like, or you just don't like it, be careful what you search. But anyways, Boeing plane, you know, it takes off, gets up to I believe 600 feet in the air, and it stalls. I believe so far they believe both engines went out, Trey, and it literally smashed into the building. Um, Unfortunately, 30 people inside the building who were doctors. They were eating in the cafeteria. They all perished. But and on the plane, 240 of the 241 passed away. Only one survivor in 11A. That was the seat 11A. And he basically walked away from it. He went to the hospital, obviously. Probably adrenaline helped him walk away. But if you see the pictures, it looks like he got beat up and not in a plane crash. It took 99.9% of everyone in the plane lives. And I mean, it was he said basically the plane stalled. He heard like a loud bang. Um and then he came to, and his area, his seat had hit the building but went and fallen down on the first floor where the rest of the plane was above him and blew up inside the building, obviously, and he was able to walk through a hole and be just fine. I mean, honestly, like, that's like some Final Destination stuff, like, for me it's pretty wild. um What's up, AJ? Appreciate you being in here, bro. Yeah, college football is July 7th, so it'll be out on my parents' anniversary, which would be 48 years together. Um, my bad, bro. Yeah, we all can't be Superman, but yeah, for real though, like that was one person lived. That's it. It's wild to me. But Trey, yeah, I'm done on that. I cooked a little bit, cooked some spaghetti, no filet mignon, but cooked some spaghetti on that. I do have a question on the would you rather though, Trey. I did not forget about it either, my man.
Alright, so big ups to Shane for covering the India plane crash. Definitely a crazy situation. And also shout out to AJ for being in the stream. We appreciate you, my guy. Fellow UMC member in the building. So big ups to that. Um, so the would you rather question that I have is this is going to come back to sports, and we're going to use a football analogy on this. So, would you rather be a guy that is basically just a guy that never really got a chance to compete at any level? You know, you're basically like a practice squad guy, but you had a pretty good career. You made some decent money along the way, and you have a pretty good head on your shoulders. So after your playing career is done, you know you're gonna figure out a way to like invest your money and potentially live a very good life than most people get to because of your athleticism. Or would you rather be a guy that made the NFL, that is had a run at being a superstar? You know, we're talking. We'll say that you at one point you were the MVP and you have a Super Bowl under your belt. So not the greatest, but you're kind of you're more than you're in the top 1% of the top 1%. But the caveat to this situation is that you made a lot of money, but over time you have made terrible investments. You know, to no fault of your own. We can just say that, you know, something tragic happened that caused you to lose all your money. So, on one hand, you're a superstar and people are going to remember you, and you have the experience of winning the Super Bowl and being the MVP. Or would you rather go the more conservative route? You didn't get a chance to do anything major in the sport, but you're set up for more long-term success because you invested more wisely over time.
Trey, dude, this is wild because when I bring up a would you rather question to you and to our audience, it's very similar um, on a lot of parts. So thank goodness it's not completely, but I'm gonna rip one to you on that right after. I would rather be the first one. I'd rather be set up like with a head on my shoulder, good head on my shoulders, with than be a superstar that's like basically falling apart. So I would definitely pick number one, Trey. What about you?
Yeah, I would definitely pick number one, and I think the inspiration to this one is that I hate people that that watch sports and then whenever they say, "Oh, you're a second string guy or you're a practice squad guy," oh, that guy's a bum, he's a nobody. But in reality, they do more. They're gonna do more than you will ever do athletically. Like it's even hard to get to play a game in the NFL, let alone be on a roster. And even if you're on the practice squad, you're making like six figures a year easy, and you're not even working like a full calendar year. So that was kind of the inspiration behind that one. But I would definitely choose the first one as well, Shane.
So AJ joined in and said he'd want the first option because he doesn't want the media coverage. So we're all getting the first option on this. Winning. Uh facts, AJ. Okay, so here's my question. It was similar to you, bro. It was similar, Trey. Would you rather be a superstar on a bad team? And I'm talking about like your top five in the league, whatever league you daydream about, whatever league that is your favorite sport. Would you rather be a superstar top five on a bad team or a role player on a title team?
I've always been the kind of guy that's like a team first guy. I've never been the kind of person to where like I want all the attention. I want people to know my presence as I walk into the building. And like I said, I've always been the kind of guy that's like I know what my role is. Anything that I can do to help my team win, that's what I'm gonna do. That's kind of how I've always been. It's never been about me, and it never will be. I know that sounds like a typical cliche like press conference answer that someone will give, but I mean for me it's always kind of rang true. Like I've never, even just in life, I've never thought that I would be like the CEO of anything. Like I would just like accept my role, whatever that is, and then eventually I'd like to upgrade and kind of be as good as I can be. But I would definitely just be the role player on the good team on that, Shane.
So, okay, that's a good response by you. AJ, he said role player on a title team. Okay, so here's where I'm at, and I'm being honest, and I'm speaking from my mind and my heart, obviously, like you guys did. Um, I love like taking the last shot in basketball, right? Games on the line, doesn't matter if it was rec league or tournaments. I I I want to be that guy taking the shot, right? Before the question, the would you rather question for me, um, I would rather be a role player and win a chip because I have always said it. People know this that have listened to the podcast or talked to me. I hate losing more than winning. So yeah, I would much rather be a role player than and win a championship than be a superstar on a trash team. AJ said, "I don't want to be remembered. I just want to help from the shadows." So okay, so basically all of us have agreed on it. I like for me, like I said, it is all about I hate losing more than anything. I hate losing more than winning, if that makes sense. So I would much rather be a role player and win a championship than be a superstar on a trash team.
Yeah, it makes sense, and it's not like because I think everyone wants to be felt like they're important and like their contributions are important. So maybe if you're just like a role player, maybe your team, the people that really know will say, yeah, he might not have been the gas that made that truck go, but he was definitely an important piece that shouldn't be forgotten. So would you say Shane and AJ that when you're on a team, doesn't matter what it is, it could be sports or otherwise, you don't have to be the center of attention. Like it's not that you're against it, but it's not like you're saying, oh, this is all about me and this is my team and I want everyone to know that I'm the best out here. Like when it comes down to it, like you hate losing and you want to just, like you said, you want to try to help the team win and kind of embrace whatever role that is. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, for me, it definitely is accurate. Like, I don't have to be the center of attention. Like I said, and just in general, like I'm better one-on-one conversation than in group settings. Like, I will have my piece, but I don't need to be the center of attention. Where like some people, they go out and they need everyone to listen to them, or they have an issue. And like AJ said, he said to me that I see how upset he gets when he loses Madden games. Yeah, so definitely. So you're there too, bro. So for me, it is where I don't have to be a center of attention, man. Like I really don't. The only reason I like taking the last shot in the game is I either make it and we win, or I can blame myself solely on the miss. And I just feel very, very comfortable doing it. So, I mean, obviously, you could say, well, then you have an ego because you have to take the shot. But like, obviously, if I had Michael Jordan on the team, I'd have him take the shot because I don't need to be the center of the attention. I just want to win. So yes, we're all in agreement and on certain things. Like AJ doesn't want to be the attention. Like I'd take the attention, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Like I would take the attention, but no, I'd rather be a role player or help the team and have somebody else be the superstar if it meant we won, championships and all that. Um, so yeah, I mean, I guess I'm 50-50 on that. Like I don't need to be center of attention when I go out, but like sporting, I'm more like competitive where I just don't want to lose, so I need to do what I can to help the team, I guess.
Yeah, so essentially you're just like, I know it's not about me, but just put me in the game, coach. Like I'm ready to go. I got my stuff on. I feel like in my heart that I want to let the team win because I hate losing, so just put me in the game, coach. That's kind of Shane's MO on that. Um and yeah, no, it's definitely like Shane's not a big attention guy. There was a time, and I think he's being a little bit modest because there was a time where he was involved in music, which he definitely has his fair share of attention on that. But even back when he was creating music, it was still a team back then. I don't know if Shane wants me to say the guy that he's been friends with that helped him make music, but there was another guy that helped him make music, and I think even back then, if there was ever a situation when you were making music and someone came to you and was like, "Hey Shane, we want to sign you. We really like this guy, but this other guy over here that you've been rocking with, we don't like him, so we only want to get you." And I think you're the kind of guy that would say like, "Well, it's either us or no one."
No, yeah, yeah. I would definitely like I would take everybody along for the ride if that makes sense. Um if you don't got loyalty and you don't have your word, what do you really have, right? And I understand people are like, yeah, well, if I'm a multimillionaire and people think that I suck, well, oh well, I'm still a multimillionaire and I'm still banging tens, yada yada. But loyalty and your word is everything. If you don't have that, then you're cooked, in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt. So yeah, we've been covering this up for a while. kind of this is gonna be super off topic, because we were talking about. I wanted to ask you this, but I think we got like sidetracked, and we were talking about other stuff, but we were talking about and AJ's here in case you missed it, but earlier we were talking quarterbacks, and we were talking about the Aaron Rodgers, about how Aaron Rodgers went to Pittsburgh. And we were having the conversation of would you take Aaron Rodgers over Patrick Mahomes? And we were talking about would you take Aaron Rodgers over Peyton Manning? And we were talking about like Hall of Fame quarterbacks and etc. Um, I think the one person, Shane, that like I remember you kind of, I don't want to say you were against him, but you've kind of have like discrepancies against him. But Drew Brees, am I correct that when it comes to Drew Brees, you were never a big Drew Brees guy, and you have some kind of criticisms because of he played a lot of his games were in a dome setting.
Um, I just think that he was I just like he was really good, but I think that he wasn't as I don't know. I wouldn't like I don't know. I think he's Hall of Fame, but he's whatever. Like, yeah, you're right. Like I'm just on the guy, right? I'm kind of like on the guy. I'm just being honest. Like I know that he has his accolades and all that stuff, but AJ, bro, you sound biased as hell, bro, for saying Aaron Rodgers sucks, bro. I mean, especially when you got your QB at Philadelphia. No, I'm joking. But yeah, I don't know, man. I just think that dome QBs weird me out. It just feels like when they get in cold weather, more dome QBs struggle than not, Trey.
So because this is gonna be a real. I mean, you're getting on AJ for being biased, but I'm gonna ask you a question, and I know that even though you would probably, if you weren't a fan of this guy, you would probably lean towards the guy. But I'm kind of interested to see if you'll stand 10 toes down when it comes to your guy. So because they're both kind of midget, like, would you say that you would take Russell Wilson over Drew Brees?
Um, yeah, I'm gonna take Russell. I'm gonna take Russell. Okay, I'm taking Russell Wilson over Drew Brees. I'm gonna get crucified. I know it, but I'm taking Russell Wilson over Drew Brees, and like nobody else would probably. So I'm dumb as hell. So, but like, yeah, I'm taking Russell Wilson, bro.
Hell yeah. I mean, when you think about it, it's really not that far fetched. I mean, Russell Wilson has a Super Bowl, Drew Brees has a Super Bowl. Um, you know, I, Drew Brees probably has the better all around stats, but I mean, they're both Hall of Fame quarterbacks. So, I mean, I don't really think it's. I mean, it's probably biased, like you said, and I like the fact that you stood 10 toes down when it came to Russell Wilson, but I don't know. I think they might be closer than what meets the eye in that regard. I'd have to look on the stats with that, but anyways, with all that being said, we've been on here for a good solid hour. I did not forget the Would You Rather segment. Well, I never forgot it. I want to correct myself. I've never forgotten that segment ever. Shout out to our guy AJ for being in here. We look forward to continuing this podcast every other Friday, and we're just going on whatever time Shane texts me. It could be 12 at night, it could be 3 in the morning, it could be 6 in the morning. You just never know with this guy. He always likes to keep me on his toes. So, whenever like the next Friday comes around, just be sure to have your notifications on because you never know when we're going to go live. And hopefully when Madden 26 comes out and we kind of get back into the swing of things, the schedule will be more set in stone. But at this point, it's the off season. We're just kind of trying to grind through it and all that kind of stuff. But we appreciate you guys for taking the chance to check us out. Whether you watch it live or you watch it on the previous broadcast, we appreciate you guys. And I'll throw it back over to Shane to close us out for another edition of the West Coast Podcast.
All right, so basically Trey AJ is giving it to me about Wilson's overrated and Drew Brees is way better passer. I mean, yeah, he has way better passing numbers, but it looks like he also got to throw the ball way more, and then Russell Wilson was a way better runner than obviously Drew Brees. Um, so on that, I will say that my schedule is wild, AJ. Trey, I got a question for you, bro. So, wait, I did say Trey on this one. Trey, I got a question for you. What are you doing next Friday around this, like, to, possibly do the podcast instead of the 27th? Because the reason why I'm saying that, I will be gone for Hoop Fest.
Alright, so Shane's gonna go back to back podcast on you because he will be out of town pretty soon doing Hoop Fest, doing his thing. So yeah, he's just asking me this live on air, and my response to that is that I will definitely be available next Friday to do the podcast around this time. I don't really have anything going on. In fact, I pretty sure I have a long weekend coming up next week due to a certain holiday that I'm not going to get into. I was definitely not a part of the holiday, but yeah, to answer your question, Shane, I could probably do that for you.
Well, Trey, I do appreciate it. Yeah, man, and then we might have 3 weeks off if that's cool with you after that, and then go back to our normal schedule. Um, because yeah, I think we're gonna have to do that. Like, I mean, I'm doing this on air, Trey. Like, I'm so unprofessional right now. So I think we do it next Friday. Then the weekend after we're done. AJ, I know my wild schedule. So okay, so Trey, I'll probably have documented because if we go the 20th, then the 27th is Hoop Fest weekend. But if we try to do the 4th, like I'll be gone on the 4th of July. So I think we need to take, okay, it's going to sound bad, Trey, but are you okay with doing the 20th and then jumping back to our normal scheduled program and being back on the 11th of July? So we'll have a 3 week break. Is that all right?
Yeah, that should be fine with me. I'll definitely text you if anything changes. I got something going on in August. Well, I might have something going on in August, so, but I'll definitely keep in touch with you. But as it stands at this current moment, I will definitely be good to go on that. So, but I'll let you know if anything changes.
All right, perfect. All right, let's we're gonna wrap this up. So we will see you guys next Friday. We don't know the time yet because of me. That's my fault. Trey will have to be on stand for me to like, shoot him a text, be like, yo man, are you free? But Trey's really good at doing that. AJ, I appreciate you like always being in
Shane,
here. Yo.
Shane be booty calling me. I'm like that one girl that's like, like when all else fails, Shane can text me and I'll definitely be on standby and ready.
Yo, that's going a little too far, but yeah, you will definitely be on standby for us to do the podcast. But or not, either way. But no, so we will see you guys next Friday, which is what? Damn, I already forgot, man. You guys are confusing me. AJ and Trey. June 20th. Um and I don't know the time yet. I'm a little discombobulated. And then we'll plan on it being July 11th and having a 3 week break, and then Trey might have something in August, but we'll definitely update everyone in the podcast. So for Trey, I'm Shane. Thank you for listening to the West Coast Podcast. We'll talk to you guys later.